You're welcome to go grab some or get some water. We got some nice cold bottled water over here too. So be sure to help yourself to that. And I think nobody has anything else. Amber, I'm going to invite Amber up here. She was our board member who was able to arrange our speakers for tonight. And I'm going to let her do their introduction.
All right, good evening, everybody. So my name is Amber Gray. I am a local real estate investor. I've been on the board for about a year, maybe. So just trying to bring in different St. Louis local people who have done good in the community. So I reached out to the Mack brothers to say, hey, I saw that you were on the news and you're trying to do something good in our community. Come talk to the other local real estate investors and let's educate everybody else. So not too much to say about the brothers. So Willie and Jonathan McMiller are both from St. Louis. I will say that they both grew up in Florissant, is that correct? Florissant. Anybody else from Florissant here? Okay, woo-woo. Just one over there, all right. John, I believe, is now a real estate investor, a real estate agent and a contractor, and Willie is also a comedian and actor. Let's see, so I believe we brought them on because, as I mentioned, they've done several deals here in St. Louis. I'm sure they're scaling their business and they'll talk more about that, but I just wanted to introduce them and glad to have you both here. So without further ado, come on.
Testing.
Okay. You all don't want to hear him all night, I promise.
Yeah, I do.
You want to hear some of me too.
How you all doing today? Good.
Good to be here. St. Louis, man, this is awesome. Thank you for the invite, Amber. We appreciate it. Man, it's good to be here. We just want to have a conversation. We're very down to earth people, so I mean, let's make the room feel comfortable with that kind of an atmosphere, right? We're not going to be all, tense in here. We're all good. He might even tell some jokes. I don't know.
Nah, more than likely I will. But y'all never know that it's an actual joke until later on. No, we're excited to be here. I just flew in maybe like 2 hours ago, and I fly right back out in the morning. I'm working on a couple of projects. But anytime I'm able to just come and talk and just be here in St. Louis, because I moved to Los Angeles in 2004. And from there, I ended up being on the Bernie Mac show. I did like a couple other little projects. And then from there, it turned into stand-up, and I had my own TV series. And eventually, no matter how much I've been in Hollywood, how many projects I've done, my name is Willie McMiller. On stage, it's Willie Mack. To my family, they call me Robert. They don't care about my Hollywood status. They don't care that sometimes I'm like, hey, y'all need to call me Willie Mack here. They like, Robert. So this is a place that keeps me humble, that keeps me grounded. And anytime when I started making money, I brought it back here to St. Louis, because that's what's important to me. Everybody can go to, not everybody, but a lot of people can go to LA and just like, okay, I'm gonna live this LA lifestyle. And LA is extremely expensive. Extreme. I was looking at a 525 square foot condo, and it was in like a C- neighborhood. C stands for Compton. And that's going for like $650,000. I come here and just today, this is the first time I saw my brother's loft, and he has this really nice 2-bedroom loft downtown. I'm like, how much are you paying, John? He's like, a little under. I'm not gonna tell them. I said I was gonna give them a round number. But the amount that you pay is still like 4 times less than what I'm paying in Los Angeles. And the prices are just keep going higher and higher. And it wasn't always easy, because pretty much what I'm going to talk to you all about today and what we're going to talk about today is Hollywood and real estate and how that can merge together. Because I was getting a water when Amber was giving our credit. I don't know if you told them about HGTV. You didn't. So we had a show on HGTV called My Flipping Family. And it was pretty much a story about 2 brothers who, money that I made in commercials and the money I made in stand-up, I brought home to St. Louis, and we started buying property. We bought it Spanish Lake, Blackjack. We have property in, you can use a microphone, John. He's whispering it to me. He's like, let me let him just stutter his way through where all the properties are. And it's also, but it's important for us to know this and to just have an understanding of real estate, especially as you get into different levels and you see success, and like you see some of these people who maybe won the lotto, that play sports, that are music artists or actors. They'll have all this fame and all this money, and then they lose it all. Look, 70%, that thing they say like 70 to 80% of athletes go broke. 70 to 80. When I heard like Mike Tyson had 400 million at the top of his game, and now he's $23 million in debt, it's like, where does this money go? You hear about some of these athletes, you hear about some of these actors. And then I think what hit me the most, and I'm gonna let you talk, John, after I say this story, is I was at a financial seminar, and there was like, most people will probably save up by the time they retire $500,000-$600,000 in their bank account. And I was like, oh, that's not that bad actually. But then they talked about how long that will actually last people. Yeah, like some 10 years, some 15, however, whatever that amount of time is, then all the money that they saved up their entire life is now just gone, and they have to find jobs again and all this other stuff. And it's like, or you can take that $500,000 and invest into a couple of properties, and then that could last you longer and longer and longer. And before I really delve down into the story, I'm gonna let John do some talking, because I'm gonna tell him how we even got to where we started flipping homes together.
Yeah, okay. Well, so we just kind of want to give you a little bit of the story, and we know that there's a lot of individuals in the room tonight. You all are already involved in real estate. Can I see your hands? Okay, so you're already involved in it, wholesaling, investing, something of that nature. So I got started, our father started us in real estate when we were very young. We would help him with properties that he had and that he owned. We had our first property when I was in college or high school, and then that was kind of like our own thing. We didn't have the company Mac Boys and stuff then, but at that time we were just kind of getting into it because our dad encouraged us to do it. Went to college, got a degree, business degree, moved to Los Angeles with a corporate job with Boeing. Loved it in Los Angeles, but transferred back here because St. Louis always has a way of getting you back no matter where you go. So moved back here, and that's when we formally formed our company, Mac Boys Properties. And we're gonna talk about some of the things that we've experienced. I've been to so many, I'm a realtor myself as well, but we've been to so many of these things where people just kind of shout out numbers and different things like that. That's not our purpose here tonight. We're not gonna talk about per se, oh, we just made 100,000 on this flip and all of that stuff. We just really want to talk to you kind of about our story and see what it is that you have as far as feedback and what it is that you would like to talk about. But the main thing that when we got started, and one of the things that I tell a lot of young investors, but people that are just getting into the real estate game, is that you have to have a vision for what it is that you kind of want to accomplish with your business, right? So a lot of people just say, I just want to make money. So when you lose money on your first couple of flips, what happens? You're demotivated. What's your motivation? What is the purpose of you getting into it? We all want to make money. We all have to live. But we made a commitment to investing in areas that people normally wouldn't invest in, and to find families and homeowners and help them accomplish their goal of home ownership. That sounds all good and nice and pretty, right? But that is what helps us get through the rough times. So establishing that vision, understanding that you have to have tangible goals when you're investing. We had tangible goals. We had how many houses that we wanted to do when we first got started. We started small and we scaled up. So we started investing in real estate through tax sales. And we bought our houses mostly off the post-third tax sale list. And we would just kind of buy those up in the same area, because once you learn that area, I respect people that can live in South County and North County and South City and Central West End, because you really have an understanding of all those areas. But my vision for what our company is, we kind of focus on the area, because once you find that formula and you work that formula in that area, consistency is how you kind of achieve a level of perfection in a certain area. So we stuck with North County, where we grew up, unincorporated St. Louis County, Florissant, unincorporated Florissant. Bought homes in that area. We knew that area. We were renovated, lost some money on some houses when we started off. My father would laugh at me, particularly because I would do a lot of the contracting work on the house as well. And he said, man, you're fixing this up like you're gonna move in here tomorrow. And I would put marble floors and all of that. And man, we had bathrooms where you could get through the bathroom by a closet door opening up. And like, I was just looking at HGTV and really was just trying to mimic everything I saw. So it was fun. It was a lot of learning experiences, but we learned very quickly that that wasn't going to be a profitable model. So started with tax sale homes. We engaged in the community, and people would end up coming to us with real estate deals. So the more they would see what we would do, he was again in LA, he would come to St. Louis and film me working and film us going through some of our houses. I would get annoyed because I'm like, pick up this bag of trash. And he's like, I can't. I got a camera in my hand, you know, and I would have to pick up the bag of trash. But when people would start hearing our story and we would engage in our community, talking to people at the grocery store, talking to people at community events throughout the week, a lot of people started coming to us and asking us, again, their verbiage, can you help us with this real estate deal that we have? Can you help us? I have a family member that is losing their home and they can't afford to lose it. Can you help us out of this? And it really fit into our business model, like we said, our vision, our motivation, because there's deals that we had to turn down. You hear that all the time, all money isn't good money. So we've had to turn down a lot of real estate deals that we did. So we scaled up from tax sale homes, and we really started growing by word of mouth. Had a lot of good community partnerships, a lot of good funding partners that had our best interest at heart and kind of would help us to scale our business. We're going to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing currently and how we kind of just happened up upon that, our current business venture. But just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of background on us, and I'm going to shoot it back to you because you're going to tell them kind of how we got to the HGTV stuff, right?
Yeah. So I had a show on BET for a while. It was a show called College. It was the BET version of The Real World. Now, after I did this show, I stumbled into fame very quickly. First 2 years, I was in LA. I'm a country boy. I'm born in Arkansas. He was born here in St. Louis. I was born in Arkansas, raised in St. Louis. I'm a preacher's kid, we're preacher's kids, and sheltered. We didn't go trick-or-treating. We didn't go to a lot of birthday parties. We didn't get to go to a lot of these social gatherings. I lied to my dad about going to prom. I took a shift. I told him I took a shift when I was working at Burger King. I was working the 4 o'clock to 1 a.m. shift, Dad. And sometimes God snitches, because around midnight, he went to Burger King, and my manager calls me. It's like, hey, are you supposed to be here? I was like, what? They're like, yeah, your dad just came through. I'm like, he don't even like Burger King. He's a McDonald's dude. But something got, and it's interesting about this night, because this is 2002 at this point. No, it was 2001. My son was born the next year. The night that I snuck out to prom, I had a kid. My son's 20 years old right now. And I moved to LA. I get into this fame, and now I'm like partying. Everybody, I knew Beyonce, I knew Janet Jackson, I knew Justin Timberlake, and BET only paid us $950 to do the whole series. We got nothing. I was working a regular job, but had all the fame in the world. And so I was starting to live a lifestyle that wasn't true to me. It's something that I really didn't even like, but it was cool on paper because I'm bringing in friends and family members. I'm like, hey, let's go to the red carpet. Let's go meet. Let's go to this person's house. And it caught up with me. It caught up with me to a point where I end up losing all of my money. I lost my car. The girl that I was with at the time, I moved out of her place. And this is when Jonathan moves to California at around this particular time. And I had to ask my brother, my younger brother, not the next in line younger, but younger, can I sleep on his couch? As an older brother, that's one of the hardest things to ever have to ask from a family member. Can I sleep on your couch? As I was this person once upon a time. And he told me, no, I can't sleep on this couch because someone was already sleeping on his couch. He says, you can sleep on the floor in my bedroom. No. I'm like, what? Is this where I'm at in life? But I needed this moment. There's sometimes when you get asked those questions. I saw a post on, I think it was Instagram. They was like, would you rather have $20 million right now or go back to 10 years old and talk to him and let him know what the game is? And there was a bunch of people like, oh, I take that $20 million right now. I was like, what? If I just had 10 seconds with Lil Willie, I'd just go to 2013, like, put $100 on Bitcoin. You're welcome. Just billionaire. But in all seriousness, as I was on his floor, he lived in a city called Bellflower. I'm trying to explain to you this next. No, we got time. I'm not giving the quick version yet. I give you the quick version in 5 minutes. So he lived in Bellflower. I got offered a job finally after maybe like 3 months in Burbank. I didn't have a car. I had to ride my bike 2 miles to the train station, take the green line to the blue line to the red line, catch a bus. It would take me 4 hours to get there to work and back, 4 hours each way. And as I was doing this, I finally was blessed with a couple of opportunities in the industry. I got some commercials, some acting work came in, stand-up started to pick up. And my brother asked me, he's like, you end up moving back to St. Louis at this point. He moves back to St. Louis, and now I got my own place. I'm starting to do a little bit better. And he said, what are you doing with the money that you're making in the entertainment industry? I was like, oh man, I got it stacked up in the bank. He's like, you're dumb. I said, what? He said, you're just gonna let the banks make money off your money? I said, oh. I prayed about this moment. I said, God, if I'm ever in the opportunity where I can figure out something different, just put the wisdom in my direction and I will go that way. Unfortunately, wisdom came in the form of my little brother, but here we are. So we end up getting the properties. We started doing that. So he was right. Every time we bought a property, I would fly back into St. Louis and I would go straight on social media. yeah, you know, the Mac boys did it again, man. Bought us another property, got us another house, and I kept doing it. And at the job that I was currently working at, I was working at a production company. And they worked on different shows that's all over TV. And I heard the development department. So the development department, if you don't know what that is, there's like 6 people in some of these production companies where all they do is pitch ideas all day. All day. What about this? What about that? What about this? No, this network has this. No, this network said they don't want to see nothing else like this. So there was a hashtag that was going around on Twitter and Facebook called HGTV So White. That's what it was called. And they were saying, where are all the people of color on HGTV? And so the development department was like, yeah, HGTV is looking for people of color that can flip homes. I was like, oh, me and my brother flip homes. They said, Willie, don't nobody want to see you and your brother on TV. I was like, what? This is like 2016. And so I went home and I think we had like 2-3 homes at this time. And I just started recording everything. Like he said, he was like, will you work? Will you help out? I was like, John, trust me on this. I know this is going to annoy you. And I got to make you take time because he was doing most of the work, everything that was going on. And if you know anything about these like 3 to 5 year tax lien homes, they ugly, man. They are hideous. Because they're sight unseen. You will go into the house and be like, what is this?
The first house that we got, our mom ran out screaming.
She did.
And she was so traumatized. She was just like, so you don't want to go back to work at Boeing? Because at that point I had left to get into real estate full time. So yeah, they weren't the best, but yeah, holes in the roof, holes in the floor. How many of you have seen those, right? How many of you how many flippers do we have in the room that have fixed those type of properties up? Yeah. Scary, right? Stop opening walls. We hated the open floor concept because the more you would open the wall up, it would just be like more problems you would discover.
And there was so many just like life lessons that we learned, or just like even financial lessons that we learned. Like if a house is built before a certain time, you might not want to open the wall because now you got to redo all the electricity. And that was like an extra $5,700. And then sewer, oh my goodness. So what happened is, like, a lot of people see these HGTV shows and think, oh, they did it in an hour. That means that I could fix this house up in 2 hours. And if they can do it in an hour, I can do it in 2. And they don't show you all the work that happens behind the scenes. And so eventually we get to a point where I end up shooting this beautiful sizzle. Can we show them, or we can't show? Okay, we can't show you one. All right. I will, if y'all want later on, because I guess I gave them the videos really late, so it's my fault. But I wanted to show you all the project that I put together, and I just threw it up on YouTube because we got denied by a couple of production companies. I was like, somebody's gonna see this. And this is the power of the internet, of social media, of influence, and of just knowing the right SEO hashtags. And just like I was using the hashtag Property Brothers. But sometimes I spell it with brothers with an ER, sometimes I spell brothers with an A. And I spelled finance, and I did all these hashtags that made people start to search us. And then our numbers started to grow. And then the right production company found us and was like, hey, can we pitch you all to HGTV? So we collabed, we worked together, and from that, what we shot, HGTV gave a budget for a longer version of a sizzle. A sizzle, for those that do not know, is an example episode. It's like if an episode is an hour, we give you the budget to shoot us 8 minutes, sell us in 8 minutes, here's $50,000. Now, what they don't tell you all when you see a lot of these HGTV shows is a lot of times they are out of budget. A lot of this stuff is also slightly scripted. It's coming from a real place, like the Property Brothers. Like the Property Brothers, originally, one was a magician and the other one was a country singer. And then they worked on a couple of projects. Like they were just handyman that HGTV was like, okay, we see something here. Now, there's people that see us and like, hey, we flip homes. Can you give us an HGTV show? Can you help us? Now, we could possibly make some introduction, but what makes you all interested? If you are interested in having your own show, it doesn't even have to be on HGTV. You can make more money having a show on YouTube, on Instagram, and you just start to get to the branding part. So that's kind of also where I came in. I was like, all right, I've done 50 different commercials, and I understood how marketing and just what people want to see after a certain point. And I was like, all right, John, here's what we're going to do. And we developed a plan, and just it was a great foundation. And eventually HGTV gave us our show, which ended up airing back in February. And so it's really just a lot of marketing. Oh, I can't wait to show you all this. I'm gonna give you all like a link that y'all can click on, and I want you all to see a lot of this later.
But we just want to talk a little bit about that process and then kind of how we moved on from there. So doing the TV show, it was a lot of late nights, a lot of stressful moments, especially when you're first time on the network, right? So you're trying to kind of jump through a lot of hurdles that are given to you and a lot of deadlines that can seem unrealistic. So a lot of things that helped us that we already had in our corner is we built relationships over time. How many of you understand how important that is? Building relationship with your contractors, building relationship with your real estate agents, building relationships with people that they stayed there all night when we were there all night, recording overnight. A lot of late nights just to meet deadlines. We had a lot of relationships, again, we said with financial partners, with our suppliers, develop relationship with them. So we were able to get material like that. I mean, people would drive material to us because we couldn't leave set. And that's the level of relationship that we have with these individuals that we worked with over time. So that was very important during the production because we didn't know we knew how to flip a home, but we didn't know how it changes when you put a production on top of it. You can't touch the house until the camera crews come back. Yeah. You can't change color schemes in the middle of like the build. Sometimes you put a color, like, you know, everything had to get approved 4 or 5 levels up before we could do it. It was difficult. It slowed us down a lot, to be honest with you. But it was one of the most rewarding experiences that we've had. And it really prompted us and put us in a position to continue again with what our goal was. When people saw the houses that we were developing and what we were doing, again, we had people reaching out to us on social media. We would host social media talks. People would reach out and say, hey, I need information on this, I need help. We have a house, we have this, and opportunities really begin to present themselves to us. So what I tell a lot of newer investors, again, what I tell a lot of people that come to me like, what do we do? We're getting into real estate. How do we become millionaires and all that? I don't know, because we're not millionaires yet. You know, we're on our way. You know, again, it's really about staying humble and staying true to what it is that your goal is and what you kind of set forth. Start small, build those relationships, get understanding. That's why I became a realtor, because we would do these really nice homes. I told you all, I would over rehab a lot. Our first few homes, I over rehab. We lost money on all of them. All of our first homes we lost, and they were just like mad at me. I'm like, but the house looks so good though. Boy. You know, but that prompted me to become a realtor because I wanted to understand the market more. I wanted to understand, you know, running comps and understanding, keeping today's on market and just different things like that were happening in the area. I would have conversation with our realtor at the time, but it prompted me to get more information. So stay informed, do your research as much as you can. You don't have to know it all. I don't. I have a good tribe, a good circle around me that just helps me to kind of get to those next levels in our career, in our business. So again, going back kind of to the HGTV show, it was fun. It was amazing. It was a great experience. Stressful. It's not what you see on TV all the time, but it really was rewarding and it helped kind of prompt us to the next level in our career. which is we moved over to the commercial side. So I'm not trying to skip too much over it,
Yeah.
but that started with a conversation with my brother. He said, you do all this work and put all of this work into a home. And the other issue that I have is when I sell a home, I'm kind of like sad about it. I'm happy because we're getting our money back, but I get so connected to the home, right? Man, no, I'm the only one. No, get it. All right, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I was just staying there on closing day and the buyer opens the door and I stare. They're like, what are you doing here? Getting off my final looks at the house. But he said, you're doing all this work. We put all this work into a home and then in an instance, it's gone. Let's look at some commercial property. Let's invest in a small apartment building. Let's look into some property that we can keep and we can kind of get their reward over and over. So we went on a search for it, went on a search for some apartments. I found the perfect mixed use building that had 6 apartments up top, 4 storefronts at the bottom, and we got outbid. And we looked at another property and got outbid. So, you know, it just became kind of discouraging. I'm like, yeah, we're going back to residential. But when I was going to look at another mixed-use building in University City, I drove past an unlisted property and it just had a sign in the window that said for sale. I was like, called that realtor again. Realtor had a, you know, pretty in-depth discussion about it. Took some negotiating and some months, but we ended up acquiring the property, the commercial property, 3 warehouse spaces. And he was like, I told you apartments. What are we gonna do with this, these buildings? I'm like, I don't know, but it was a cool deal. And so, yeah, we were just kind of standing there like, But we kind of started talking again about, I know you all was just like, man, that sounds so canned, but really we started talking about what our vision was, what our goal was. And one thing that we appreciate and we grew up around was community and how important community is and just being around other people, sharing. Man, dinners were just our thing, family reunions and just, what else? Going to the pizza shop, ice cream, Fritz.
Yeah.
Y'all know Fritz in Florissant? That was our
Right
go-to.
now, it's all about Ted Drew's.
Yeah. Old Town Donuts, all of that. Those are places that our parents would take us when we were younger. And we would just have some of the best memories in those environments. So we began talking about what it is that we want to do with this property. And we decided we want to put a cafe in there. A little like coffee lounge and things like that, because that's where people gather for community. A lot of things happen in those environments. An event center, a banquet space, okay? That's another area where people gather. You see weddings, you see baby showers, all of these wonderful events that happen. And then office spaces, co-working office spaces. So that's kind of where we're at now. I know I'm just going.
Oh, you're good,
right?
you're good.
Okay. I don't know how much time we have left. That's where we're at now. We're developing a property into those spaces, and it's a whole new animal, right? A lot more, I don't know how.
There's a lot more hoops that you have to jump through.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like if you do a residential spot, you can just kind of, you do it yourself. But when you, like with the event center, we had to go talk to neighborhood councils. We had to get votes. We had to go sit down with people and talk to community folks because they're like, we don't want your event center in our neighborhood because the parking lot maybe only holds 25, 30 people. And now y'all are going to have to park in the neighborhood. We don't want that happening because we have kids and there might be alcohol served. So there was those loops. And then there was like even hoops. And then there was like, even as you're talking about community, one of the things that I think that's really cool that my brother does is like he invites different young men from the neighborhood to work on these properties. And we pay them. They're not just working just to be working. It's because we want to also show them there's other routes to success versus what maybe they're used to, what they think it is, whether it's music or sports or whatever it is. And it's like, so when he's like, hey, come paint these walls, or come help us take the trash out, or come whatever, and they'll just come and they'll see us doing it. It got to a point where I remember, I can't think of what the kid's name was. It might have been Peanut, where he was like, hey, one day I'm gonna own more homes than you and your brother combined. And I'm like, good. I want you to think that. I want you to see that. And so now he goes and he tells his friends that this is happening. And these are the moments that we are doing this for. It was nice to be on the red carpet. It was nice to hang out with a lot of these celebrities and doing all of that, but it wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't making me happy, because when I leave there, I knew I had to go home by myself in this little bitty apartment. It was not fulfilling. So now to see that I've inspired somebody, or we've inspired somebody from another generation that's going to tell his friends that they're going to inspire somebody, is really where the reward comes. And even when we were doing the HGTV show, even prior to us filming, our mom sat us down and was like, you all are going to sign a contract that you all are not going to fight on TV. She's like, you all are...
He breached the contract. He breached the contract. Yeah, so I'm going after him.
I'll see you in court.
Yeah.
So after we developed this whole community outreach, and then we started seeing what the conversations were. The conversations change when people see what you all are doing. The way that people talk to you, the way that they respect you, the way that they see you online and your presence. And that's something that we also have to be very concerned about, or not even concerned, aware about. Like, we had to go through background checks to even get on HGTV. They went through my Twitter post and was like, Willie, you got to take this off. Why'd you say this? And then it was like, you got to do this. And then like, so now that's something that I got to be aware of. Even as brands started reaching out to me or reaching out to us, it's like Kenmore, or like when I'm doing some of my commercials, they'll go through my social media. It's like, these are going to be the people that's going to represent this brand. You can't necessarily say everything unless you just want to be one of those people that's like, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm just going to keep it real, blah, 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 blah. And good, go for it. But if you're looking for a certain level of success, a little bit more commercial life, then you want to be aware of these things that you say online. And that's something that I have to stay on top of at all times. And so, we also want to take some questions. If y'all, I know we're doing a lot of talking. I could talk forever. Like I said, I do stand-up comedy. I might end up turning this into a whole set. And I know my mom and dad are watching. I know you won't.
I won't let that happen. But I think the main message that we wanted to give tonight, when we were asked to come, we were just like, what do you want us to talk about again? I can talk numbers all day. I don't really like that because I do it all day. Mainly when we talk to people, and if you have questions about that, of course. But mainly when we talk to people, we like to talk about what's your vision, what motivated you to get into this. There's going to be challenges. So what helps you to get over those hurdles? What's your goal? What is your goal in real estate? And really kind of owning your own area in this vast world of real estate, because there's so many ways that you can go. And if you stay true to that, I promise you, opportunities will come to you. They will come to you. Doors will open for you. He did pitch us the HGTV, but what he kind of skipped over that part. Really, our stuff sat out there for a couple of years and we weren't pushing anything. At that point, we were like, well, and he was, because I didn't want to do it in the first place. But he was kind of just like, well, we tried. And so it sat there for a couple of years while we were working, and we got the call when it was unexpected. And they said, hey, we saw something online. Can we pursue this opportunity with you all? So know that opportunities will come. Work with other people. There's nothing wrong with partnerships. That's something I see a lot here. I'm from here, but a lot of times, we're trying to do it on our own, or we'll work together on the first wholesale deal. And now that I've learned how to wholesale, I'll go off and do it on my own. I've had that happen so many times. I saw you flip one house. I saw your process. Because I show people, not as much anymore because we're just swamped, but, they learn it and they think they can go off and do it on their own, and then they end up coming back like, well, I had a question. But nothing wrong with working together. When we're in our real estate association meetings, how many realtors are in here? Any realtors? Okay, good to see you. Hi. I was just, when we were doing our renewals this year, and I was just in a class, and the teacher under the code of ethics, my code of ethics teacher, were you in that class? You're going next week. It's awesome. I know code of ethics is boring, but it's an awesome class. That's the number one thing that they say. They say, why is it that realtors are just against each other? We're not working together. We're not trying to help each other sell and buy properties from our clients. You know, it's just this competition. There's nothing wrong with healthy competition, but one thing I would say to investors and people getting in the real estate market, find you somebody trustworthy that you can work with and grow together. There's nothing wrong with it at all, because there's something that they bring to the table that you don't. Okay, we can go to questions. I'm kind of just rambling.
Hello, can you share more about your strategy for funding? A lot of people are getting in real estate. I do hard money lending, and a lot of times people don't know how much money is really out there. There's really more money than deals, I think. So can you maybe share about if someone is getting in, how should they be thinking about money? Is it partnerships? How do you create a strategy for funding projects?
I have access to his bank account. That's how we put it. For real, he was bringing in a lot of money doing commercials and stuff. So we funded a lot of our first deals with just cash. And I know people say don't leverage your cash like that. You know, leverage it better by doing hard money lending. There's a lot of good hard money lenders out there. I tell people when you're looking at a hard money lender, there's some of them that require you to have 20,000 in the bank and credit score of this and a credit score of that. Then some of them will fund the project based off the house, right? And the value of the house, the ARV, what you're going to turn it around for. I'm not against hard money lenders. We've had a couple that have helped us with our projects. They based it off the value of the house and what we were going to do. They usually give you 70%, some of them less than that. I don't know what your rates and stuff are for your company, but I think that's a safe way for somebody that's like, I don't have $20,000 sitting in the bank. And I deal with a lot of young people just entering in the market. I know it's not where we're at now just because we've grown to this level. We have lines of credit with different banks around town. So whenever we see a house, we put it on the line, we sell it, pays it down off the line, and we kind of keep recycling it that way. Partnerships. Again, sometimes people are, he was in Hollywood living it up. I was here doing the work. But it was a good partnership because you can ask through family, some friends that, if you're networking properly, there's people out there that you wouldn't imagine in your circle that probably have access to funds. We have people calling us now, close to us now. They want to help us fund some projects, but there are options for that within your immediate circle. So just to kind of answer your question more directly, we have used hard money lenders. They've been the ones that have funded the deals based off the ARV of the house. We found it very easy. You know, they put a lien on your house, they give you a contract, and you pay the lien off once you sell the house. That's how all of them really work, but some of them, you know, require more upfront. Pick your poison, I guess.
So it's a really tough market right now. It's like a seller's market. So how has your strategy changed with the way the market is now? Has it impacted it any or?
Well, really it's changing from a seller's market. It's not so much a seller's market anymore. I'm kind of crying. My realtors, I have listings out there. Please bring your buyers, you know. It's becoming more of a buyer's market now, right? The rate hike that happened with the feds it accomplished the goal that they intended for it to happen. They want to slow down the market. Things were, I mean, you know, we had houses that sold 30, 40,000 over asking price. And then it changed overnight, you know. So as far as a strategy now, you have to, when you're getting involved in a real estate deal upfront, do your homework, please. So we had an opportunity in Blackjack to buy a house for, I think it was like 110,000. But at the time they were selling for 200 and this house just needed like 20,000. But I knew by the time we would get in there and get to that particular home, I knew the market would have slowed down by then. And when I say do your homework, when I do listings, I do an appraisal. We get our appraisal because we want to know, you know, don't tell me what I want to hear. What is this really going to sell for? I run my own comps, but also I get an appraiser out there just to say, you know, realistically, how much is this house worth? That's kind of doing your homework up front. As a realtor, we can look at, you know, houses that were sold, houses that were withdrawn. And I reach out to the realtor sometime. I just say, hey, this was listed, you know, and maybe you all can do that same thing. If there was a house that was sold, you know, just inquiring. I get calls all the time from consumers about, you know, houses in the area. Sometimes they want to list with us, sometimes they don't. But that's them doing their homework. What are the comps in the area? What could we get for this house? And understanding that before you put your budget together. So there's different rules out there that they teach investors, right? Especially when you're wholesaling, they say your investor, the 70-30 rule, or sometimes the 75-25% rule, right? Where you take the cost of your wholesale. I mean, y'all know it, right? I don't want to explain it all. Like, I don't have a marker and all of that, but pretty much, you know, 30% are going to be closing costs, a lot of different things of that nature. 75%, if you're all in at that price, then you take off the amount of your repairs, right? So you have to kind of do those formulas to see. I hope I explained that right. I hope I didn't confuse everybody. But you have to do that kind of homework as well. So before you start putting a hammer and nailing and all that stuff, understand what the market is doing. Talk to a realtor, again, community, networking, having somebody like that that you can have those real conversations with. It is becoming a buyer's market. It's already there. Buyers are demanding more. Buyers are asking for more closing costs now. Buyers are driving pricing for sellers. I mean, I had a buyer say, well, I'll buy after this. I'm like, well, submit your contract. It's like, it's my head. But, you know, a lot of people are, a lot of buyers are just, it's turning into, it's there now. It's a buyer's market. Hope I answered your question, maybe? Okay. Oh, they're popping up now. More technical questions.
What's been the biggest hurdle in that commercial deal?
You want to send me home depressed tonight talking about it. Well, I mean, we can talk about it. I call them almost every week to give them that update. The first biggest hurdle is with the event center. We had to go before city council and plead our case and ask them for permission. We had to ask neighbors. U City is driven very strongly by the residents. Which is a good thing if anybody from U City is watching. But so we had to get through that, right? We had to go before city council a couple times. They only meet once a month. So we had to take about 2-3 months just to show up to the council meeting, present before council and the mayor. That was a big hurdle. And yeah, we had a lot more fees, insurance policies that were in place with that type of a building. But the biggest hurdle was just to convince them that this idea is going to fit for this building, for this space. It would help the community. But because of that, and because we were in front of so many people presenting our case, again, we gained a lot of allies once they saw us show up to the council meetings and we presented our case. We had papers, packets, we came ready. And so we gained a lot of allies from the top on down. I mean, from the people who are on the council to residents that begin to be our champions, you know, and champion for us. So
How far along are you guys?
still convincing them. No, I'm just kidding. We're now to the point where our permits are in the final phase of review. So within the upcoming weeks, we have 3 buildings and then a grassy lot. We're expanding the lot to accommodate for parking. So that's going to start in the next couple of weeks. We're starting with the exterior. All of this is going to happen in about 3 weeks, starting with the exterior enhancements while they're finalizing our approval for the interior plan. So, man, you all are going to see us. If you're on social media, boy, you all are going to get sick of us. You might throw paper airplanes at your house with like advertisements of the event space in the coffee shop when we're done, but it should be done by the new year, hopefully.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming too.
Thank you.
Hi, I just had 2 questions. First one is on commercials, what do they typically pay for? Just curious.
Now, if you're doing non-union commercials, you'll probably make between $25,000 to $8,000 on a regular commercial, especially like if they're local commercials. Local commercials will pay like $500 to $2,500. Now, when you start doing like the Coca-Colas or some of the McDonald's and the big boys, then it starts turning from $25,000 to 6 figures, and then you become spokesman. When you become the flow and when you become like Jake from State Farm, those are just different contracts. They do buyouts. So like the first year for Jake, he got $500,000 and they can use him as much as they want. Because as a union actor, every time our commercial airs, we get paid, so we get residuals. But then when you become a spokesperson, you start to get a flat fee. And they're like, listen, we're going to use you as much as you want. Here's a huge lump sum. And there's something that you also kind of got to be careful of. It depends on what you want to do. Like, now, if you see Jake from State Farm, y'all seen Jake from State Farm, yeah, right? Now, if y'all see him in a rom-com trying to be sexy, nobody's going to take him serious. No one's going to take Jake. No one's going to. So you have to be aware of how you want to be seen. And luckily for me as well, I'm a comedian. So if I was to be the goofiest person in the world or the most serious person in the world, I always got comedy to fall back on. And that's what people will recognize it from.
Oh, okay. The second question I had was while you were out there, or while both of you were out there, did you join the STLREIA? And if so, what did you get out of it? Were you able to apply it here?
Yeah. I joined the STLREIA. I did that after we started Mac Boys Properties. We got the name Mac Boys, so that's what our mom calls us. She like, ever since we were little kids, she's like, where's my little Mac Boys? So as we grew up, that just kind of that's where the name came from. And so what was cool about this, so when me and John did this, I was like, all right, let me just start finding investors, because I started off in wholesale. Did awful, but that's where I started. So I was like, okay, maybe I need to start going to these meetings. So I joined the STLREIA, and it was just, it's not even that it was just expensive though, but it was like, I liked it a lot, because at first I thought I was on, because I was like the young urban guy there, and there was nobody else like that. And I was like, but then they kind of just took me in. And like, anytime you need anything, Willie, I started going to lunches with them. I started going to other meetings with them all over. We went to San Diego, and just whatever. And I was like, this is the community. This is a great community. This is what I was looking for. So I'm now talking to different people about different aspects of just real estate and life and investing. And so it was great. I assume, I don't know how well you all know each other here, but it it was like this. It's like, this is like home. And it was really enjoyable.
Oh, thank you for being here. It's been great. The question I have is, we have a tax sale coming up next week, I believe. And I'm scared to death to do that because, like I said, I'm afraid that I'll walk in and there'll be no walls, holes in the floor, holes in the roof, and the expense with all that. So I guess I'm wondering, how much what is the most that you spent on doing a rehab on one of those? And do you have any advice of not to be so afraid to invest in something like that?
So the way that, just real quickly, and again, you all might already be aware of this, the first and second tax sale, when you bid on those properties, the owners have a year, that's St. Louis County, yes. It's a difference with the city, that is true. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're referencing.
I'm in the city and that's what.
Okay, so that okay. So what we would do, we would just drive by the houses. We would kind of look through windows. Some people go as far as dressing up like city officials and entering in the property. I wouldn't recommend doing that. But we just drove by, kind of looked at them. We assumed the worst. So back then, what we put in our first house, we put like 65,000 into the property. It was
Did
horrible.
you do your own work?
Mostly, not that first one. We hired out. Yeah, we hired out. That's when I was kind of shadowing the contractors and learning. So yeah, we put 65,000 into it. We bought it for the first one I think we got for 7, and then we had one for 12, and then we sold it for like 79,000. And yeah, it was horrible. We had to pay all those fees out there. So my recommendation is I'm just trying to see how I want to start this off. Go by and look at the property, right? I would just go by and look at it. I talked to neighbors about how long it's been vacant. Have you seen anything? Have you seen a tree fall on it? And then the city came and kind of removed it out of the house. I mean, you could clearly see that the tree fell on our first house, which is why the hole was in the roof. But you just kind of have to, do some good, get your contractors together. Say, what's the average to just do a general rebuild out of a kitchen? And if they say, we can, at worst, we can do a kitchen for 6,000. At worst, we can do a bathroom for 4,000. At worst, we can, and you kind of assume those until you're able to kind of get into the property. The good thing about the city tax sales is that they relieve all of the liens when you buy them. So that's good. County does, which was why we had to pay upwards of $5,000 for a lawyer to clear the liens off of those. So it's good that you're doing the city. So just kind of get a good contractor, get him to give you some good estimates on like what's the worst? What's the worst for a new roof? And kind of put those numbers together, see what the ARV is, see what's selling in the area, and see if it's kind of still worth that investment.
Also, this is more not necessarily like structural advice, but just also don't be fearful. Whether go in there just knowing that this is a lesson. You're gonna learn a lot, especially on the first couple of properties that you're going to do, and enjoy and understand the journey. There's people that go to school and spend $60,000 on a theater degree that they'll never use a day in their life. There's people that will do all of these things just for that experience. So these are experiences, and if you have to, you kind of write them off if you need to at the end of the day. And would you suggest putting it under a business name as well?
Well, one thing that we did, yes, put your houses under a business so you can write off on that. But another thing, there was one house I over rehabbed that house. And we had to rent it. We rented it out for a year so we could recoup a lot of that cost. Then we sold it a year later for higher than we would have sold it if we kept it. So that's another exit strategy. So they talk about having multiple exit strategies with the property when you get in it. You don't want to always just assume all in that you're going to be able to sell it. What's it going to rent for? That's part of your research that you do when you're entering into that. So we knew with this house that we had, we could easily rent it if we couldn't sell it. And so that's what we did with one of the homes so that we could recoup the cost. Very easy to do. I mean.
That's good advice. Yeah, thank you. I wish I knew that 2 years ago.
First of all, thank you for being here. As a first timer, looking to get into investment properties, what would you, what details would you give? What insight?
So some of the insight that we kind of, again, we just wanted to start small. We started small. That's why we did the St. Louis County tax sale, and we did the third post tax sale. For those you get it, it's yours. You can get right at it. It took a little bit less to get into it, but a lot more to get out of it. So as a first timer, I always recommend partnerships. I always recommend partnering up with somebody. And again, you do your research, you network at events like this, you look at who's social media groups. There's social media groups where people are posting. But if you have determined a funding partner, I think that's first, really get a good funding partner. If it's a hard money lender, if it's a bank, however you want to go about it, if it's personal cash investments, that's where you start. Then you kind of work your way back from there. There's a lot of good, wholesalers out there that are selling properties for reasonable prices. So I would recommend if you're going to get into it, starting off and you've partnered up with somebody else, get in through a good wholesale deal or through a tax sale deal. It's just my personal advice. What's some of you all's advice? Who just did their first deal? Anybody? Yeah, okay. What's your best? I'm sorry, I'm flipping it on you, but. Oh, okay. He's gonna give you the mic.
So I just bought a duplex in the city. So I'm living in the first unit, and there's currently people upstairs in the second unit, so I'm renting it out that way. And I actually just bought it a couple months ago. That's kind of how I got in. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great strategy if you can find a duplex, because that covers a lot of your expenses if you can get that rent hidden right. So,
Right. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Did we kind of answer it? Answered it? Okay.
Are you guys partnering with anybody, like individuals or companies here in St. Louis, maybe as LPs or GPs for that matter?
Not yet. No, not currently yet. So,
Thinking about it though? Maybe not.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, no, we have some thoughts around it. We're kind of, but right now, not necessarily, not yet. We're just kind of still scaling our business up. Especially we're getting into this commercial side. We're going to kind of get into that. We have people pushing us to like go at hyper speed with some deals, but we're kind of just taking our time until we can. I feel more comfortable. I'm an analyzer. I'm a risk taker-ish.
Calculated risk.
Calculated risk. That's right. So but to answer your question, no, not now.
Can you speak on what you see the near-term future of the St. Louis real estate market looking like?
I couldn't even tell you that a couple months ago. You know what? Okay, this is just opinion, so let me just put it out there like that. We see that St. Louis is growing like fast. And a lot of people would challenge that by saying, well, people are moving out further and the population of the city could be decreasing and all that. But when we see all of the development, and one thing that I encourage people to do all the time is to go to those city council meetings, especially in the city, because in those development meetings, because you see and you hear what's coming. Midtown right now is just booming.
North City too.
North City.
Geospatial development.
Mhm. And so I personally see the St. Louis real estate market growing because they are attracting a lot more residents back to the city. That's why you see a lot of the developments with the, as he said, I live downtown, so I see them. I'm looking at them. I'm seeing the stadium go up. There's people moving here to St. Louis because of all of these opportunities that are developing. So I believe that it's growing, the real estate, as far as people looking for homes and different things of that nature. Of course, we follow the national trend kind of, but when you see a lot of development that's happening around the city like it is, that means there's people that know a lot more than we do up there that are kind of gearing, engaging, and getting ready for the influx that's going to happen. Hopefully that.
Also, one thing that I do, every time I go out of town, I go to different REIAs in different cities. I talk to some of them because some people are interested in purchasing in the Midwest. Like when I'm in, especially when I'm in Los Angeles, as I was talking to you today, John, and then he was telling me that some of the apartments are going for like $2,000 for one bedroom. I'm like, oh, that's almost Los Angeles prices. And then I'm like, something must be growing as they're building some of, like you said, these things are being developed, the soccer stadium, and people are always going to come to the Midwest. They're always going to come to St. Louis. Like this is the perfect middle ground. We got an amazing, baseball team anyway. So if anything, you can Airbnb a lot of these properties out. If you are going to buy some of these properties, one thing that we was also talking about was travel nurses. Travel nurses, those programs pay a lot of money. Like if you were to rent this house to a family, you might make, let's say, $1,200 on it. But if you pitch it and you put it up in the travel nursing program, you get maybe $2,000 for that same property. You can rent out these different rooms. There's different things that you can do even as you are doing rentals. You don't have to just rent to a family or to an individual. You can rent to students. You can make it more accessible for them and rent out each room. And now you're, instead of just once again $1,200, you're renting out each room for $700. And yeah, that's the other thing that I just kind of wanted to throw out there. And just like I said, join other REIAs, just not necessarily join them, but they have like Zoom. Like we're on Zoom right now. I know I have some friends that's watching. I know my mom and dad are watching on Zoom. And so because of that, I joined Zooms on people in Chicago, in Miami, in Texas, and I introduce myself and I tell them where I'm from. And they're like, oh, one day I would like to do a deal in St. Louis. Bring me that money. Let's do it. And so that's something that I would also advise.
Just to quickly kind of talk about that a little bit more. So what he said about the travel nursing program, we have a house near UMSL that we're kind of having friendly discussion on whether we want to do an Airbnb or go ahead and sell it. But our St. Louis is, the last I looked at it, St. Louis's #1 employer is BJC. Okay, we're a heavy healthcare city. We have cancer research. WashU is doing a lot of leading research studies that are being hosted here. So nurses and doctors from a lot of Ivy Leagues and different areas around the country are coming here and staying for 2 and 3 months at a time. Again, so Airbnb a house, even if you've overinvested, you can always recoup that cost back. If you're looking downtown, the America Center is looking to expand because we're trying to attract more conferences here. We're trying to attract more road shows and different things like that. And that's prompting this discussion about expanding the America Center downtown and how we're going to do that. So St. Louis, they used to say is a flyover city, but people are starting to land here and stop for a while and then kind of go into what they're doing. So
it's a fly-to city.
It's a fly-to city now, yeah. So the St. Louis, I think the St. Louis market is looking very promising because of those things. That South City development that just got announced, south of the Arch, $1.2 billion. That they're gonna fix that up and make that a hub of its own. You don't drop that kind of money in a city that's declining, you know.
Thank you.
I'm gonna try to ask the best way I can. When you approach investing, do you have a formula that you like to use? I heard you talk about renting to recoup, but do you have a target? Do you like to flip mostly and then rent some, or do you have a balance that you like to try to keep going into the whole situation?
So we mainly just flip and kind of buy, rehab, and sell it back. Again, the only time we enter into rentals is if we're trying to recoup some costs. Some people thrive on it, but our strategy is just kind of get it, invest in it the best we can, and then, you know, sell it for a profit. Did you want me to go into any more detail than that? That's good. Okay.
It's not necessarily a question. I just wanted to drop some information. My girlfriend and I are nurses at Barnes Jewish Hospital. We also partake in traveling as well. Current contracts at Barnes Jewish Hospital are $3,000 a week.
I'm switching my business model. I'm doing travel nursing renting now.
I think on average, we probably pay like $2,500 to $3,000 a month for an Airbnb when we stay here. I work for the Barnes Jewish Hospital Central Staffing Office, and we're in the process of trying to bring in like hundreds of travel nurses to fill in vacancies throughout all of the Barnes Jewish Hospital system. So I think that's definitely like a good place to look for like a niche in the St. Louis market.
Perfect, thank you. Ooh, you might win this Airbnb argument. Let's see.
So my first question is pretty simple. I want to know, do you have a card that I can get? That's number one. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I would like.
No, I don't have a business card on.
I'm sure you know your phone number.
I do. I have information, social media. We usually, I try to get out of that question by saying, oh, I do e-business cards, but then I can't find my e-business card. But yeah, we'll exchange information. That's fine.
Okay, and then so my next question is, you spoke about buying like third-round tax liens, right?
Uh-huh.
And so how do you feel about like the LRA properties? Because is that not after the third round tax cycle? Like how do you feel about that?
So the Land Revitalization Authority, we don't mess with LRA. And I know that's a city-specific department. I don't want to forget. Go ahead, because you might save me. I think he has a, did you have a question or just a comment on the LRA? Okay.
Attorney Dale Sweet, I listened to his seminar back about a month and a half ago, and he was talking about the city and the county tax sales, specifically the city, the LRA properties. What I learned from that is if you buy one of those properties, you got to have a plan and the money to fix it. You have to show that progress is being done. If you're a newbie, I do not recommend those.
It's really, that's I'm trying to keep my personal opinion. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, it kind of doesn't matter because they put a pause on LRA.
Yeah.
With everything that's been happening with the alderman, they
Yeah.
have stopped LRA for, I don't know, for how long, but it's paused.
That's a very politically correct way of saying it, because I was going to say the inventory of LRA gets scaled over a lot. And when you kind of get done shaking it down at the properties that are left for us to acquire.
But I will give you another tip. So I bought an LRA lot So you may not buy the property, but I bought vacant land in Central West End. So think about that. That's worth it. Yeah.
And can you talk about how you handle your rehabs and contractors, your source of them, managing them? Rehab manager, are you hammering and nailing yourself? Just kind of talk about the volume of houses and how many contractors you might need to have working for you.
Yeah, so we have a contractor for each system, a major system of the house. So our electrical contractor, when we do our initial walkthrough with all of them, we kind of know how to walk through it and look for what we can see. But we put a scope of work sheet together for each major system, HVAC, plumbing, electrical. We let them, I mean, we have a list of the order of things that we do things. I know they say usually work from their way top to bottom. So fix the roof, you know, kind of work your way down through the house. We get our systems done first. Of course, if there's a roof damage, we do that first, but then we let the systems go through, we manage those. So at this point, we have relationship with them to where they kind of know what it is that we're looking for. It goes into, do you have to submit plans to the city? Are usually you have to have those items permitted. And so you have to submit drawings of what it is that you would like to do with the changes you want to make to the house, especially if you're removing walls and stuff like that, load bearing walls and all of that stuff. So our process is, if we're removing walls, we want to get the house framed out to look like what it is that we want it to end up looking like. So if we're moving a wall from the living room to the kitchen, we need to do that. Our electrical contractor will come cut the electric in that wall. You kind of work your way through the systems, build it out. And then once everything behind the wall is to the point where you're satisfied, you close it up. We have a carpentry contractor, a drywall, mud and tape contractor. We have a wood floor contractor, landscaping contractors. So we have an order that we do things in. And at any given moment, I don't know, we have a few of them in the house at a time. We don't like it to get too crowded. Then people don't get friendly.
How many houses are you trying to do usually at one time? And are you bidding each job out, or do you have fixed pricing with them?
We work with the same contractors a lot of times. So again, this is our model. So again, we've kind of sold off a lot of our residential stuff and moving into this commercial deal that we're doing now. But we worked on a handful of houses at a time because it just gets, for us, I manage it, you know, each project as it is being developed. So we only do a few at a time. Usually I say electrician start at house 1, then jump to house 2, jump to house 3. We circulate our contractors through the houses. So, you know, we determine what each house needs. We put whoever at house number 1, when they get done, they move to house number 2, we enter into another, you know, we get another contractor to come into there, start working on it, and they kind of all work their way through the houses. So we can kind of keep track of what's going on in each deal. We're not doing like 20 and 30 houses at a time because we manage it ourselves.
So you're not struggling with losing them, going off with somebody else working on their house? Have to find a new contractor, get new bids?
I am struggling with plumbing. Anybody know a good plumber? For real?
We just got a bid today for one in the house. St. Charles County, just a normal rehab, even a little bit in the basement, a bathroom in the basement, $29,000. What can you possibly do in plumbing for $29,000? So you can have him if you want.
Yeah, no, thank you. But no, again, because of the level of relationship that we've developed with these individuals, they're pretty loyal. They're pretty loyal. We've had some people that go off. We've had contractors that didn't fulfill their contract and we paid them, not everything, but even the portion of what we paid them, they didn't fulfill the duties of that. Just kind of write it off. One of them I got a little with, but I don't know. that's just kind of our thing. You just, we filtered through quite a few contractors and we found a good base that's loyal to our projects and what we work on. I don't know if that's answering your question.
No, yeah, I don't really know how many houses you do. It's hard for a new rehabber to get started when he has no contractors, then he finds them, but then maybe doesn't have another house to put them onto, so then they may lose them, so it's real hard to get started.
And that's you taking the contractor and kind of, that's their bread and butter, like you said, you're just starting off, how we started off, and we knew some contractors already from my father, but when we needed new contractors, we would go to social media and look at a lot of the investing groups on there. And my thing is, I shouldn't say I don't like it, but I take into account more when customers recommend a contractor than a contractor saying, hey, hire me, I'll do your job. Hey, and you're the only one. And if a contractor does do that, that's fine. Then I look for people underneath their comment to say, yeah, this person really worked out for us. Yes, this person really worked out for us. And I kind of go 3 or 4 comments deep. And then that's when we kind of drill down with that. But I wouldn't give the contractor the expectation that you have 10 houses lined up that'll take them through the whole year if you're a new investor.
I'm actually a hard money lender. When I lend money, I actually provide the contractors for the person as part of my lending program for new rehabbers.
I'm new to commercial. You have a good plumber?
Actually, no, I just got into that myself. I just actually started doing it.
I don't want him, a good plumber.
No, that's a different situation. No, I just started doing apartment lending, yes.
What advice do you have to grow your social media presence? I imagine consistency is probably one of them.
I have 13 friends on Instagram and maybe 1,000 on Facebook.
Very close friends.
Man, can you friend me on Instagram now? So I got 14.
The best way to grow your social media is find your niche and find your voice. There's a way that I was able to stand out because he has 14. I have like 100,000 on Instagram, 500,000. But I found my voice. I knew what I wanted to get across. I wanted to be I wanted me and my brother to be that focal point in the Midwest for people to look up to. And I was like, what can I do? How can I angle our social media to see that? So I have clips where we give advice about certain things, and I'll make sure I use the right hashtags. I look at other people's hashtags and it says St. Louis real estate. I'll just click on St. Louis real estate hashtag, and I'll see some other people's projects, or I see some of the stuff that they're working on, and I comment on their stuff. And because I'm commenting on it, whether it's a helpful advice, whether it's just a joke, they're like, oh, this person's cool. And then they begin to follow me and they get to see the content that I am creating. Coming to events like this and just talking and just be like, oh, he seems like a cool person to hang out with. Because I am big on, like, even the way that my stand-up is very conversation. And it doesn't feel like it's real salesy. It's like what John said. We're not here to talk about, oh, we made this much money. Here's this, money. We're just like, hey, we're a couple guys. We want to have a conversation. And because of that, it makes our boys seem like the guys that are cool. We are cool. I'm cool. He's John. And, so because of that, we just start to build our social media presence that way. So I would advise that to you, whether it's you and your friends. And it's like, what can we do to make ourselves stand out? And there's 3 words that someone said to me that really just like stuck with me. Commitment, consistency, and discipline. Once you really hold on to those 3 words, commit to something. This is what we're going to do. Be consistent about it, because what will happen, like some videos that we have got 100,000 views, some of them got 1 million, some of them got 100 views. And we fight through the 100 views, and then they'll bounce back up to 1,000 and whatever. And then eventually that consistency has let people like, oh, they're still doing this. Like what John was saying with our, when we put the video on YouTube, and 5 years later is when HGTV called us. And one of the first questions that they asked was, are you all still flipping homes? We saw your video, are you all still doing this? This was our consistency, and because we were consistent on it, we were able to have these opportunities come our way, and we disciplined ourselves. There's days I don't feel like making videos. There's days I don't feel like doing this, but I know what my end goal is. So when you have that end goal, like this is what I want, this is how I would like to present it. Just remember, commitment, consistency, and discipline. That's it. And while I'm at it, our Instagram handle is Mac Boys Properties. MACCBOYZ Properties. And so, you know, and we begin to develop our relationships and our friendship. Comment on myself, I comment back. So, yeah.
How about your YouTube?
YouTube is right now it's under Willie Mack, WILLIEMACC. That's where a lot of our stuff lives.
Thank you very much.
So do you have buyers in LA that are looking for rental properties here in St. Louis? Rent ready stuff?
Do I have any buyers or investors?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna use them. After I use them, I'll be like, hey, here's what I got left. But yes, I'm actually working on a project now that I'm working on selling called Flipping Funny, because I work with a lot of comedians who have maybe got their first television series, or they're now into this lump sum of money. And they're like, now that I got this money, now what? And I'm quick to tell them, bring it to St. Louis. That's the first place that I tell them. And I'm like, y'all can go to your hometown. I don't know your hometown. What I know is St. Louis. So eventually, yes, there will be enough to where, like, if y'all start giving me your contact and we can just develop. This is how these relationships start. Give me the contact and we will start talking. And if I don't have a property, but I know that you do, hey, I know somebody that has it. Boom, that's how, you know, wholesaling and all that other stuff. So yeah, just network with us. Just talk to us, exchange contacts, and eventually, you know, nothing will happen.
Okay, anybody else? One last one?
Going once.
If not,
It's Willie Mack, WILLIEMACC. And if you want to see the very first sizzle that me and John created, it's under what was the name of it? Oh, it's Flipping Max. You don't want them to see it? Oh, whatever. I'm gonna tell them. Yeah, if you just type in Willie Mack in YouTube and comma Flipping Max, FLIPPIN, you will see that very first sizzle that we did that ended up getting us the HGTV show. Yeah.
okay, for more.
That one time.
No, it was that one time for now. We're currently, the question that she has, are we still working with HGTV? So not currently on this project, but maybe on something else in the future. We're now shopping it around for, you know, better deals and, you know, some behind the scenes stuff. So yeah.
Okay, really, thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate Amber arranging everything to get the guys here. Okay, we've got, if you haven't joined us, On Fridays at 11 o'clock, we always do some networking, but it's a good place for, finding contractors and exchanging information. 11 o'clock every Friday. And then on the first Friday, we have Kathy Davis, the local attorney. I call it the Ask the Attorney Day on the first Friday. So if you got any kind of real estate related questions, you'd like to get in front of an attorney, she's always willing to help. Anyway, we'll be around for a little bit. If you want to go over and see JM Real Estate Capital, you can still got time to do that. I bet we probably still have a few extra frozen custards over there. See Alex about it, and hope to see you all next month. Thank you all for coming.